very warm welcome to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is Olumuyiwa Matuluko, PwC Journalist of the Year in Tax Reporting for the year 2016. We remain very proud of that. Before we go into the main story on today's episode of Tax Matters, we want to share this earth-shaking news with you. On Thursday, the 17th of August 2017, in faraway Paris, France, the Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Babatunde Fowler, on behalf of Nigeria, signed two multilateral agreements aimed at addressing the twin evils of tax avoidance and tax evasion. The two agreements are the OECD's Multilateral Convention to implement tax treaty-related measures to prevent base erosion and profit shifting, otherwise known as multilateral instruments, and the Multilateral Competent Authority Agreement for the Common Reporting Standard, CRS-MCAA. Nigeria becomes the 71st country in the world to sign the MLI, while she is the 94th country to sign up to the CRS-MCAA, which allows participating countries to obtain financial information from financial institutions regarding their nationals and to automatically exchange such information with other participating countries under the CRS-MCAA. The CRS-MCAA Common Reporting Standards will potentially enable Nigerian tax authorities to obtain information regarding the bank accounts of Nigerians who hold bank accounts in the 100 countries that will potentially be signatories to the MCAA. Be warned, the news is tightening. On the very last episode of Tax Matters, we brought you the story of the 138th meeting of the Joint Tax Board, which was held in Abuja for one day, Monday, the 14th of August 2017. And of course, we told you that the theme of that one-day meeting was administering VATs, the roles of stakeholders. And in keeping with that theme, everything that was done at that one-day meeting revolved more or less around the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, VATs. Presentations were made by Professor Abiola Sani, Mr. Taiwo Edele, Mr. Albert Folorunsho, and we shared all those with you on the first episode. And the father of them all, the number one tax officer in Nigeria, summed up this way.
We should remember it is a voluntary asset and income declaration. So once that individual has filled the form, understands the tax calculation, that individual will submit the form. It is only when we see that maybe the individual doesn't clearly understand the computation or the assessment process that will step in and say, thank you for coming forward, but what your tax should be is A and not B. And I'll give a typical example. An individual may have a landed property worth 50 million, may have cars worth 20 million, may have a few other things, and still assess him or herself to a tax of 100,000. So at that point, you now explain to them, based on this, your tax should be so, so, and so. And what VAT does give is the opportunity for instrumental payment. But the payment period is a maximum of 3 years. So basically, you're still carrying out tax administration, but under these conditions of VAT, which allows instrumental payment, which allows non-payment of penalty and interest. But it's still tax administration. We're just carrying out normal tax administration functions, just with an agreement that will not charge interest and penalty, and will all give instrumental payments.
Tax Matters sought further clarification from Mr. Fowler. We have been made to understand that you have signed, that the FRS or the federal government has signed MOUs with the states. What exactly are the contents of that kind of MOU? What are you expecting from the states?
By the Constitution, there are 3 tiers of government, and each tier of government has its own revenue authority. So the Federal Inland Revenue Service is independent of the state in revenue service agencies. So in signing this MOU, it gives the federal government the right to intercede on behalf of the state revenue agencies to help them generate revenue.
If I decide, for example, that I want to take advantage of the opportunity offered by VATs, where do I go?
Well, as an individual, you'll go to your state revenue agency. Now, in terms of dealing with foreign investments, for example, the Federal Inland Revenue Service is the known source to represent the federal government. So if we have information on a state taxpayer and we collect the revenue on behalf of the state, that revenue will be sent to the state revenue board.
Speaking about the various initiatives in the area of using technology to drive the system, what role will technology play in this scheme?
Well, technology will play a very important role. The only way to ensure that you don't have double taxation or you have, in quotes, illegal taxation is through technology. So that with technology, at the touch of a button, I can tell the tax history of anyone, anywhere in the country. So if you have got a transaction in Kano, but you reside in Lagos, instead of the revenue agency or the government contacting Lagos, the head of the Internal Revenue Service in Kano, at the touch of a button, can tell your tax history.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government covers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
Welcome back. You are still watching Tax Matters, and what we are doing on this episode is to share with you the proceedings of the 138th meeting of the Joint Tax Board, which was held in Abuja on Monday, the 14th of August. As we promised you last week, on this episode, we want to bring you more of what transpired at that meeting. Prince Degun Agboade, President, National Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, NASME, was a guest speaker at the August meeting.
We felt that if SMIDAN is empowered, and of course you want to register your company, you want to do you go straight to them and they will be in position to assist. Then dedicated MSME-friendly tax regime. New tax rates, we're asking micro to be 2.5% of profit, SME 5% of profit, no more minimum tax, commencement rule will not apply, 100% loss relief against future profit, and 3 years tax holiday for startups. Then what is it that we have gotten? We presented that list to so many committees and in different fora. We got amnesty program for voluntary disclosure, and we are grateful to FRIS and Ministry of Finance for their cooperation and handholding in these matters. We are grateful that we got this, that is in Section 5, that is further reduction in tax rate, which was announced a while ago. Section 5 also minimum threshold for VAT registration, and then law and regulation recommended for review. All this we got. And finally also, on our effort so far, is the formation of a technical working committee which met in Lagos to develop a proposal for state-level campaign. And in support of the Thursday tax policy, we change all our meetings to Thursday. So when meetings happen on Thursday, we take the opportunity to remind our people what that Thursday is.
Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Mr. Boboyi Oyeyemi, brought cheering news.
Why I actually came is because of the issue of unclaimed licenses at the various licensing offices. We have cleared the backlog. It is the responsibility of the states to work on the distribution. The responsibility of FRS is to produce and dispatch to the state. And I've proposed to the chairman JTB, let all states create one office, one room. Let all outstanding licenses be taken there. I'm ready to provide personnel with your own personnel and provide a desktop computer for indexing so that we make announcements that anybody who wants to collect his license should go to that office, to that room to collect it. And within 2 weeks, all those backlogs, all those unclaimed licenses will be collected. If you look at the something given, we have over 200,000. Lagos alone is 83,000, and FCT is 21,000. Oyo is 14,000 unclaimed licenses. They're all there. If care is not taken, some of these licenses will expire there. And the public thinks nothing is going on. We are within the threshold of the 60 days now, which I want to reduce within the next 2 months to just 4 weeks.
And this?
The other one has to do with, as from 1st of January next year, before you can process driver's license, either fresh or renewal, you must have your NIN, that is National Identification Number, because the integration will have been completed. You had the announcement of the migration to the upper week, as from 1st of January, so the same thing.
Still on the matter of NIN, the National Identity Number, the Director General of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, Engineer Aliyu Abaka Aziz, was on hand to shed more light on the NIN scheme.
NIMC is National Identity Management Commission, but most people, most Nigerians, when they start to say national identity, then they say card. Okay, so I want to disabuse that card notion that it is the national identification number. The current one that we did is BVN. It's also called bank verification number. So, and all this is because of the recession period that we are in now, so we are downplaying the card. The card can be produced at any time. But the most important thing is to have unique identification number. We are to also issue the general multipurpose card. Again, this is where the card, again, is different from any other card. It is called general multipurpose card. Why? Because it is to combine all the other cards that we issue. The memory of the card, the base memory is 80 kilobytes. Compared to ordinary ATM card is 4 kilobytes. So it means that the card is 20 times bigger in size than the ordinary ATM card. The NIN slip also is printed on a secure paper from Mint. Then the focus that we have now is to harmonize all the databases, including the tax databases. The law says that by a given particular date that you must provide your number for the following services. Number 1 is the passport. Number 2 is for banking services. Number 3, land transaction. Number 4, insurance, pension, then consumer credit. The 10th one is to do with taxes. Before that one for voters registration, and any other government services.
And a peep into the future of NIN.
This is a process of putting the tax into the applet. We have 13 applets in the card, and tax is one of them. But even the most important one that is on the card that is not being mentioned is the public key infrastructure. The public key infrastructure allows you to get digital certificates, and to really participate in the digital world, you need some form of digital certificates. That is what will give you the security. That is what will allow you to digitally sign documents. That is what will allow you to digitally also encrypt your the information that you pass.
Can we help somebody here? There's PIN when you go and use your ATM in the bank, PIN. There's NIN, National Identity Number. Of course, you know about TIN for taxpayers, taxpayer identification number. So when you call me and you want to ask me where to acquire your TIN, it's TIN, taxpayer identification number. It is not PIN. PIN is for your ATM card at the bank. And the father of them all is the NIN, National Identity Number. Summary. As you heard from the Director General of NIMC, do not be unnecessarily focused on the card. You say, national ID card, national ID card. Yes, the card will come. But be rather focused on the number that you are given when you successfully register for the national identity number. You'll be given a slip. Keep it very safe. And more importantly, store your number somewhere. That number is unique to you. That number is yours for life. Nobody is going to re-register you, because to register more than once is a criminal offense. So once you have that number, that is your number for life.
Again, NIN slip is not a temporary card, because people will come to us that they say, I received a temporary slip. The NIN is only on that slip. It is not on the card. It is inside the chip of the card. So the NIN slip is a document. It's an acceptable document, and all the banks have been instructed to accept the NIN slip by central bank, and they have been accepting for some time.
State coordinators of the Federal Inland Revenue Service from the various regions of the country were also in attendance at the 138th meeting of the Joint Task Board to share their experiences in the area of collaboration with their host states on the voluntary assets and income declaration scheme and in other areas. There was also a delegation from the Nigeria Governors Forum led by Dr. Mark Abani, which came to make a presentation on the Nigerian Governors Forum dashboard. At the end of it all, a communique was issued.
The Joint Task Force held its 138th meeting on the 14th August 2017. The theme of the meeting was Administering VAT in Nigeria, the roles of stakeholders. The board approved the appointment of Sir Oseni Salawe Elama, MNI, as the Executive Secretary of the Joint Task Board, and appreciated the outgoing Secretary, M.L. Abubakar, for a job well done. Number 2, taxpayers should take advantage of the incentive contained in the Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme recently launched by the government, and call on taxpayers to declare their asset and income for tax assessment. 5, the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises assured the JTB of their readiness to collaborate with the board to achieve increased taxpayer database by sharing. 6, state IRS are to designate officers in their offices with phone numbers for prompt collection of produced driver's license.
Welcome once again. We recall that last episode we did tell you that one of the highlights of the 138th meeting of the Joint Task Board was the announcement of the appointment of Sir Oseni Elama as the new Executive Secretary of the Joint Task Board in succession to Mr. M.L. Abubakar. Tax Matters spoke to both the outgoing and the incoming Executive Secretaries. What would you consider to be your legacy? What are you leaving behind at the Joint Task Board?
Yeah, thank you very much. It has been a very tough journey, but I thank the Almighty. We enjoy serving the members in particular, and then the country in general. We started from issues on multiplicity of taxes. I remember in 2010, it was a case all over the country where case incidents of activities of touts stopping motorists on the highway and extorting money in the name of revenue collection was very rampant. It took us time to actually cope the menace. We also had issues on addressing complaint by the Manufacturers Association, where they were complaint as to the number of taxes collectible by the three tiers of government, the federal, state, and local government. And that took us to issues of even technical issues like what actually constitutes a tax. For example, if a government agency carries out a service to an individual and that individual pays for that service, it shouldn't be seen as paying a tax. In 2015, a committee was set up by the National Economic Council to look at the complaints, and what we came out was to actually review the content of Taxes and Levy Approval List of Collection Act. Then in 2016, issue of collaboration came up. We discovered that we needed to have collaboration among the various agencies, particularly the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the State Internal Revenue Service. So, and that's we identified 6 major operational areas where the collaborations would be necessary to enable us optimize revenue collection. Of recent, we are also involved in review of national tax policy document.
We did also ask Sir Oseni Elama, the new Executive Secretary, what kind of Joint Tax Board should we expect under his tenure?
The Joint Tax Board is under the chairman. I think it humbles me to take over as the Executive Secretary of the Joint Tax Board. At a time like this when the chairman, Mr. Tunde Fowler, has given a purposeful leadership that has engendered this kind of interest, collaboration, and cooperation among JTB members. There could be no better time than to turn around the fortunes of the JTB and likewise also turn around the fortunes of Nigeria as a country. We believe that if we have the necessary reforms fully implemented, re-engineering our processes, and put in a lot to develop our human capital, the JTB will meet to deliver the required optimized revenue for all tiers of government. And I want to use myself as a point of contact to link up the various tax authorities in pushing forward that vision of creating a tax-friendly environment to optimize internal revenue generation in Nigeria.
What impact would your tenure as chairman of Edo State IRS have on this job?
Thank you very much. I think the beauty of it is that while I was the chairman of Edo State Internal Revenue, towards the last year of my tenureship there, I had the privilege of being selected to attend the National Institute. And apart from the general team of that syndicate that reported to the president, we were met to undertake individual research project. And my individual research project was on the topic on internally generated revenue and inclusive development in Nigeria, and a case study of Edo State. And that was well documented. I think when we made the presentation to the president, I met with the Honorable Minister of Finance, and she requested for a copy of that, my research work, which I got permission from NIPS, and it was granted. I gave her a copy. The first recommendation in that research project is actually what has translated to the BAID scheme that you are seeing today, voluntary income and assets declaration. I'm now the chief servant of the JTB, and I want to sit back to serve sincerely and diligently and put into practice those research findings and implementation strategies that I observed in the study of Edo State, which I think is applicable to every state, and by extension, the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And I believe that working and getting the support and the kind of leadership that the chairman of the Joint Tax Board has provided, I believe that very soon we will be more reliant on our internally generated revenue as against relying on commodity export proceeds from petroleum.
We do wish Sir Oseni Elama the best of luck at his new duty post. You can count on our support. We do sincerely also hope that this will be a new dawn for the Joint Tax Board, even as a lot has been achieved in the past. For you, our viewers, we want to thank you most sincerely for watching. Let's do this again next week. Same station, same day of the week, same time of the day. Have a blessed week ahead.